Give us a sense, as we look back over this enormous growth story, the greatest, I think, in the history of the world, frankly, and you can take a look at it back to the beginning of Deng Xiaoping 40 years or so. Exactly. What has driven that growth, and what is slowing it down now?
The main thing that drove the growth was catching up. China, by 1978, after a century and a half of one disaster after another, was impoverished. Like other countries of East Asia, Japan, for example, or Singapore or Korea, China finally got on the right track of market economy, globalization, and boom, they absorbed a tremendous investment from outside and exported to the world. They became the workshop of the world. They achieved about 10% growth per year for nearly 35 years, absolutely extraordinary. That means that they increased in total size more than 30 times. They worked hard, they saved a lot, and they achieved to escape from poverty. When you do that, the growth tends to slow down. The headroom diminishes. You've adopted the modern technologies. So it was inevitable that there would be some growth slowdown. But what's happening right now is because of what I think are absolutely incorrect actions by the U.S. government, by the Trump administration, there's a deliberate attempt through this so-called trade war to cause China to plummet in its progress, on the idea that that's going to lead to some trade concessions of great benefit to the United States. I think the whole thing is hugely misguided, very dangerous, and we may have basically the president creating out of one person and one bad approach a worldwide recession.
So explain exactly how that works as a matter of economics, because if you look at the size of these two economies, they're huge. And even the amount of trade involved, the tariffs are fairly modest. In terms of just pure numbers, it doesn't seem like it would be enough to slow China down that much.
Well, what's happening is the administration, the Trump administration, is, it seems, trying to create a new divided world. The U.S. and its technology on one side and trying to isolate China. It's a repeat, I believe, of the Cold War playbook. Completely wrong, a big mistake from the point of view of U.S. well-being and U.S. security. But they are trying, not only through the tariffs, but also through the attacks on the high-tech industries by telling U.S. universities, don't get engaged, by threatening companies. Even the president tweeted, you come home, you stop producing in China. What's happened is a huge amount of uncertainty about investments, a direction of future industry, where supply chain should go. So there's a kind of seizing up. Nobody knows what to do. And the result of that is that business investment and business confidence have really plummeted. Until recently, the U.S. consumer was still confident, but U.S. consumer confidence is also falling right now. So we're seeing warning signs all over the world of a slowdown, not only in China, but in Europe and other parts of East Asia and in the United States. And I think we're bringing this on. Of course, our president makes us very unstable in general.
Do you agree that some form of reform in the trade terms to the United States and China is necessary? Because we have a lot of people, Democrats and Republicans in Washington, we have a lot of businesses who say, you know what, with respect to intellectual property protection, with respect to reciprocal rights in terms of access to markets, something needed to be done because, in fact, we were being taken advantage of. Do you disagree with that?
I think that's basically outdated and outmoded. China had grown beyond that. China is a technology superpower. That's what's actually driving this. Not so much that they're stealing, but that they're getting ahead in artificial intelligence and expert systems and use of 5G. The attack on Huawei and others is not that they're stealing. The attack is, oh my God, look at how they're getting ahead, because we were asleep at the switch. When have we been investing in infrastructure in the last 10 years? We've done nothing. No infrastructure investment, no modernization in major sectors. And so what's really driving this in foreign policy terms is fear that China's moving ahead, not that they're stealing from us. Every week I read the leading scientific journals. China's publishing like crazy. They're not stealing from us. They are in a very advanced stage. New chips, new applications of AI, new supercomputers. Well, one could say, wow, they've really done a good job of making massive investments. And we should be doing the same thing, basically. And we should be cooperating with China on addressing problems like climate change, renewable energy systems, and new forms of transport without carbon emissions. But instead, we're trying to divide the world. It won't work. This is not the Cold War of old, and China is not going to bend to Trump's will. This is absolutely clear.